Hello, hello. We are live on Thursday, March 9th, 2023 for the daily transmission. We are on Instagram. We are on Twitch. If you're watching the replay, then you are in the future. Hello, future you, or present you. Oh, what is time? If you are here in the future, you're probably watching this either on Instagram, YouTube, or you are hanging out over on Spotify, listening to this in the podcast format. We've got the daily transmission all over the place, y'all. However you would like to subscribe and consume your content, it's here for you. So what we want to talk about today is the astrology of the moment. So it is Thursday. I personally love Thursdays. The energy of a Thursday is very much a vibe. It is, and maybe it's my Venus in Sagittarius, but with Thursday being ruled by Jupiter, this is a day of expansiveness. This is the day of going big, dreaming big. I'm a big fan of just Thursdays in general. You'll notice that when I typically am launching a program, it'll usually be on a Thursday, just simply because of the energy of Jupiter. We like expansiveness. We like abundance. We like, I don't know, Jupiter just gives me like big YOLO energy, right? Like you only live once, get out there and do your thing. So I'm just going to pull open on my computer. If you want to follow along, you can head over to Twitch. It's twitch.tv/Mama Capricorn with an underscore at the end, or you can wait for the replay, which I will have, like I said, on YouTube, and the video version also on Spotify. But we're just looking at the celestial events of the day. Nothing too spectacular right this moment. Now, we have been inching even closer toward this moment with Jupiter coming into conjunction with Chiron. So something that I think would be a really great way to like spend your day, because we also have the moon in Libra. Now, fun fact about Libra, when you think about all of the different things that are representative of the signs in the astrological system, Libra is the only one that's not technically a living creature, right? Everything else is either an animal or a person or some kind of like personified like animal sort of creature. Where Libra is represented by the scales, which is of course an inanimate object. So with Libra, it is an air sign. So it's not necessarily emotional, which I think is so fascinating for it being the ruler of the house in your chart where we typically find marriage, right? Because marriage isn't always about being, oh my gosh, so like in love, right? It's not always about passion and romance and sweetness. It's about compromise and seeing things from the other person's perspective, and choosing to come to the middle and choosing to honor peace in the relationship above anything else. And so with this being where our moon is today in Libra, this is a really good moment for kind of stepping back from our emotional attachments to things and giving ourselves the opportunity to ask, like, where are we keeping ourselves from experiencing peace? Or maybe because you're a person and your mind is going to be more fixated on the negative experience that you're having in your life. And it's okay, like it's normal. Ideally, we work away from that. We have more self-awareness around our like negative thought patterns. But when you notice, something, it's like, oh, this is like robbing me of my peace. This is something that we want to like make a note of today, whether it's situations that pop up in your life, whether it is like people that are just aggravating you. It really doesn't matter because it's not the thing itself. It's about the reflection that it's here to give you. So with this being a moon in Libra day, hopefully this is a good time for you to be taking a good look at yourself. And I think with this also being Jupiter coming closer into conjunction with Chiron, again, this comes into like exact conjunction on Sunday. But I just really think that this is a time for you to be like having some level of self-acceptance, self-awareness, and what, it couldn't be a better time with the sun activating the 22nd gene. If you are like on Instagram or wherever you are, I wrote a Substack post about this yesterday, I posted it last night. Just kind of going into the energy of the 22nd gene. And we talked about this kind of yesterday, but it is the way of graciousness. And so we're moving away from essentially like judgment and blame. You know, I put that in it was a question that I led one of the sections in the post with, is what's the difference between accountability and blame? Right? What's the difference between taking accountability for something or even expecting someone else to take accountability for something versus blaming them or blaming yourself, right? When we talk about the energy of blame, we are essentially putting ourselves in a place where we're saying we don't have power. When we are blaming, whether even if it's ourselves, like if we're blaming ourselves, we're blaming someone else, we're blaming a situation, we're blaming the weather, we're blaming whatever, for the reason that we're not performing or being or doing what is integrity with ourselves, we are not being honorable. Like we are dishonoring, this is the shadow, we are dishonoring how we feel, we are dishonoring the situation. And every time you do that, every time that you dishonor the inner voice or the inner knowing, the emotion that you're feeling, that like something just isn't right here, or that you're just like not experiencing inner peace, you are telling your body and you're telling your emotions and you're telling your mind that they don't know what they're talking about, right? And that you're like just slowly diminishing that voice and diminishing that feeling that you have with yourself, diminishing your connection to your own intuition. Because think about it like this, like, you know, if you're a parent, I'm a parent, if my daughter asks me 5 times about the same thing, I am going to have the answer for her ready, usually the first time. And the answer probably hasn't changed much by the time she gets to the 5th time that she's asking me about this, the 5th time that she's like stressed out about this. And I just like don't have the energy for it at that point, right? And that's sort of how your body is like, if the longer that you disrespect it, the longer that you dishonor it, the longer that you suppress and avoid the wounding, the painful feelings that you are trying to avoid, because at the end of the day, it's like all rooted in core emotional wounding. All of the projection that you have toward other people, all of the diminishment of your own power, all of it comes back to your fear of not wanting to experience a negative feeling, right? Your fear of not wanting to experience one of these core wounds, which is like rejection, suppression, separation, guilt, things like that, right? So it's these really strong feelings that you do not want to be in. You don't like, it is not, and it's natural, right? It's natural for you to not want to be in those feelings. And so it's also natural for you to not want to take any level of responsibility for those feelings, right? If you're feeling like you're afraid of rejection, you're gonna, I'm an introvert, or I just don't get along with people, or I never expected them to accept me anyway, or you're just against me. It's just, right? It's furthering every single thing that you're doing when you're in that energy is furthering that separation. Okay. So how do we heal this? Right? It is being honest with ourselves. And so I love the moon being in Libra today. I love Jupiter coming in a conjunction with Chiron right now. Like all of this is really such an astrologically kismet moment for allowing yourself not to emotionally attach or react to the negative things that are going on in your life or the negative feelings that you have about yourself, right? Like if I'm feeling, or even if I'm afraid of feeling rejection, and I notice then, right, I have some level of self-acceptance, self-awareness, I'm taking responsibility, I'm no longer dishonoring that is a fear that I have. Okay, well, how is this actually affecting, right? What am I doing? How am I projecting this onto other people? and my situations. How is this keeping me from doing what it is that I want to do? Because obviously I'm not going to go into like social situations if I'm afraid of feeling rejected. I'm not going to put myself out there if I'm afraid of feeling rejected. I'm certainly not going to do this if I'm living in the fear of rejection and I am denying that I'm even feeling it, because I can't address it. I can't do anything about it if I'm in denial, right? If I'm just, oh, well, they're not going to like me anyway, or, oh, I'm just weird, nobody gets me, and like I just speak like an alien, nobody's going to want to watch this or listen to this. Well, the more that I tell myself that, the more true it's going to be. And the more I'm going to project that belief onto other people and further, right, separation and create the rejection that my ego is expecting me to create. And then, of course, the more that I create it, the more that that inner voice starts to adapt from my intuition to like an inner critic. And it's like, oh, see, told you. Because if you're not listening to it when it's correct, you're not going to be able to tell the difference when it's incorrect, when it's like not the real intuition, when it's not your real inner voice, when it's like the ego or the part of you that wants to keep you safe, its version of safe. Okay. So when we move away from dishonoring ourselves, we can have some level of graciousness for ourselves and for the people around us. Because listen, when we act in accordance with our own intuition and we treat people the way you want to be treated, right? When you live with the expectation, like, no, I'm not going to, why am I afraid of feeling rejection? Why am I expecting that to be something that's going to happen? Okay. Maybe there have been feelings, pains that have happened before. Maybe I have been rejected before. But Jupiter coming in conjunction with Chiron and Aries tells you to believe in something again. It says you can start over. It says the thing that happened before is not the defining moment, and it doesn't make it true in every other circumstance. Just because one person rejected you or didn't get you doesn't mean that all people will. Okay. But that's what your ego wants to tell you, because it attaches to that experience and says, oh my God, I don't want to feel that again. That sucked. And so this is just a really beautiful moment for being able to take a look at yourself and ask, how am I dishonoring my feelings? Where am I placing blame on other people? Where am I projecting those fears onto other people? And if I'm doing this, does that mean that everyone else is doing this too? You better fucking believe it, friend. You are not the only one who is afraid of feeling pain and rejection and separation and guilt and shame. Nope. Guess what? That's humanity. Those are the core wounds of humanity. And more often than not, people are acting, taking actions, communicating with other people, making decisions, not through the lens of what is correct for them and what feels right for them and what their intuition says, but based on those projections and based on their own inability to honor the fact that they're afraid of those things. And so if everyone is acting from a place of like I'm afraid of being seen, I'm afraid of being, because I don't want to be rejected, because I don't want to feel that separation, because I don't want to, well, then what would happen if that same grace that we give ourselves, what if we gave it to everyone else? Even if we don't like them, especially if we don't like them. What if we were able to honor the fact that everyone is operating from a place of trying to maintain safety and maybe not even knowing what safety really means and looks like? Because so often these ego stories that get in our head based on these past experiences, when we take a look at them, they don't even make sense, right? It's like you think you see a monster in the closet, but then you turn the light on and it's just a sweater that's fallen, It's the same thing. That is very much the energy of this moment. So again, just like what a great day for this. I don't know. And maybe it's because I am verbally like talking about it every single day in the daily transmission now. And I do tend to process things better when I am verbalizing. But I feel like the last month or so, like it's not just one or two placements that have been in alignment to like help us to create a certain experience. It's been like everything. It's been, it's like we have Jupiter coming in a conjunction with Chiron and Aries at the same time that we have a post full moon, Libra moon, and the sun is in the 22nd gene. It's like I know I'm saying like all this like kind of astro talky, but if you've been listening since the beginning, then you already know what I'm talking about. It's just all of these things really fold together and create like the perfect opportunity for inner child healing and for like honesty with yourself without attaching, right? Without making it mean something about you. I know that word is used so often lately, like attachment, and in so many different ways, but I don't know how else to say it. It's like being able to be an observer of your own thoughts, of your own feelings, of your own reactions, like stepping kind of outside of yourself and just being curious. If you can develop a curiosity about your body, about your reactions, about your thoughts, about your feelings, rather than attaching to them, you will be in a completely different state. Your life will be completely changed without anything even shifting around you, because it's just recognizing that your perception of whatever is going on around you may or may not even be what's really going on around you. Perception is such an interesting word because it's defined as the way that things are seen, but it's also defined as like the way an individual like sees it from their own perspective, from their own like subjective situation. And so it's like it can't be both. Like it can't be both the whole truth and also like the truth according to you. And so if it can't be both, then is any like maybe nothing that you think or feel is actually true. And maybe all of it is up for examination. Maybe all of it is up for interpretation. And if it's all up for interpretation, then we don't have to attach to it, do we? If it's all up for interpretation, if it's all up to a shift in perspective, then we don't have to make it mean something about us. It doesn't have to be devastating. It doesn't have to take, our day away from us. Whatever the negative feeling is, we can just sit with it and observe it and ask ourselves, where'd that come from? Where'd that come from? And I'm going to tell you, when you are able to have that relationship with yourself, it will change the way that you interact with the entire world around you. It will change the way that you make decisions. It will change the energy with which you make those decisions, because it will not be done from a place of lack or panic or fear. It will be done from a place of self-alignment, right? Wow. Okay. Well, honestly, I feel like I have said a lot of great things to beep beep. And I am going to keep this succinct today because I've given you a lot to think about already. If you're just catching this live, go ahead and watch the replay. I'm about to go post it. It will also be on YouTube. I've got this in a podcast version on Spotify if you want to watch the video, or you can just subscribe on Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. It is the daily transmission. So I will be back tomorrow, 9 a.m. Friday, for our final transmission of the week. I love you all so much. Give yourself some grace today. And if you can, give some grace to the people around you. And if you really want to work, give some grace to people that you don't agree with. My homework is giving grace to Pete Buttigieg. My homework is giving grace to MSNBC and corporate media. What are they afraid of? What are they projecting? How can I How can I choose to see them as more human and less as something different or alien from me? Because they're not, they're people with fears and anxieties and all the same things. And we may have a different perspective, and that's okay, I guess. But maybe if we all extended each other a little more grace, and especially the people we don't agree with, who knows? Who knows what kind of world we could be living in, right, y'all? Anyway, have a beautiful rest of your Thursday. Day of Jupiter. Go big. Love you, and I will see you tomorrow.